Hello and welcome to the Herdline Podcast, hosted by Trace Johnson and the Herds Headset. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode where the Headset and Trace talk all things Marshall athletics. Be sure to follow us on X and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever else you listen to podcasts. Now, sit back, relax, and let's talk the herd. A wise man once told me that even in bad situations, always look for moral victories. And this past weekend at the Cam Henderson Center, we sat through a shellacking unlike we've seen in a very long time against the Miami, Ohio RedHawks when they came to town. And if I'm honest, it is quite hard to find those moral victories at the moment, but surely we might be able to find a couple. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode number 11 of the Herdline Podcast. This is the Herd's Headset alongside Trace Johnson, and we have a fantastic episode lined up for you today. We will have our full reactions to the catastrophic events that took place on Saturday. We'll also talk about what's next for the men's and women's basketball programs in the distant future. And we will also be talking a little bit about the newest member of FBS level football, North Dakota State, and also some ideas and possibilities for the future of what a playoff may look like. But before we get to talking about any of these things, let me go ahead and turn it over to my partner here, Trace. How are things going on your way?
Oh, going good, man. Going good. Talking about the weather, I know we said that a minute ago, how warm it's getting warmer, the snow's melting and all that stuff's finally going away. So it's nice. It's starting to feel like spring, like you said, starting to feel like baseball season coming up. And we are really close to herd baseball. I know we'll talk a lot more about them in future episodes, but yeah, I'm doing good. Really looking forward to baseball and basketball too, because we're in the thick of the Sun Belt race right now. So yeah, a lot to look forward to.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're not going to go into detail on baseball, but baseball does start this week. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we have herd baseball in action. Friday, they'll play Evansville. Friday, they'll play a doubleheader against Evansville and Kennesaw State. And then Sunday, they'll finish things up with just Kennesaw State. So exciting times to be a herd fan. So let's go ahead and get into the episode, though, and not waste much time. Let's talk about the events that transpired just a couple of days ago, this past weekend at the Cam Henderson Center. Marshall was defeated, as we all know, at a final score of 90-74. Truthfully, the game was not ever really close. There was a couple of moments to where that looked like that Marshall, maybe found a little bit of a groove, tried to make a run, but they just couldn't get over the 8-point deficit mark. Right. It seemed, and it just could not get things going all around. So with that being said, I'll kind of begin to start and talk about a couple of things that I've got written down here. First of all, let me talk about the good. There's a couple things that we can take away that are good from what we saw on Saturday. Number one, there's a sellout crowd. I mean, hey, every time that you get a sellout crowd, that's always great. That's always an awesome experience. And so this was a great atmosphere overall. May I say, secondly, that was the best student section that I have seen in the past decade.
Yeah.
I mean, they were rowdy, they were loud. We were getting beat by 20, and they're still out there chanting. And I think, I think they also had these cardboard cutout faces of some of the players' girlfriends. They're getting like really personal. So it is a rowdy atmosphere overall, as far as the students are concerned, and it was by far the best that I have seen in many years. So great. Fan interaction overall, and the events that the team had kind of made overall for the game were great. Baby race at halftime, electrifying. Then they got the putt, the famous putt, that was also really a cool thing. The Greek night activities, all of that was as great, so no complaints there. And then my last good is this. It seems as if there's a new Marshall fan out there in the world. One Bob Huggins,
How about that?
as he was pictured in the stands wearing a Marshall hat and a Marshall shirt. And so I suppose that he has finally sobered up, and now because of that, seen the light and come over to the Marshall Thunder and Herd. So
Yeah,
that's
right.
good. All good stuff. All good stuff. But with all of the good, I think we also need to talk a little bit about the bad as well. So my bad things I've got here on my list is this. It's everything else.
Yeah.
We have a small list of good, but everything else was not very good. Just to throw out just a couple numbers for you, Marshall shot 40% from the field, not ideal. They shot 28% from 3 point range, going 8 for 29, not ideal. They shot 59% from free throw from the foul line, including, I think, 3 lane violations. Is that correct,
Yeah.
Trace? Yeah,
Yeah.
not ideal. Not ideal. And the largest deficit of the game saw Marshall being down by 24 points. Also, not ideal. Um, and what made me really the most upset as a fan was just the utter recklessness of the game. It looked like there wasn't really a plan. It looked like there was just a bunch of guys out there running around playing pickup ball that have never really played with each other that much. Um, there was not really a true offensive scheme. They just kept throwing up shots. And my biggest thing of all was there was no adjustments that were made throughout the game. There was no set up an offense. There was no let's try and just feed this one guy. It seemed like they just kept on shooting the ball all over the place. Everybody got a taste, and there was no real plan. And we've seen that pattern before. This is how Marshall's played this entire season. They get off to a slow start, and then in the second half, just by the pure volume of the amount of shots they take, they'll start to hit a couple and come back and make some noise. And if I'm being honest too, that's kind of on par with what the D'Antoni era did as well.
Yeah.
But I think the difference between the two is this: that there was at least a one or two playmakers that were on the D'Antoni teams that will knock down some of those much needed shots. And Marshall, there's just not much consistency. And so overall, I just was not impressed with a lot that happened Saturday. I wasn't impressed with the coaching performance. I'm not impressed with the style of play that we saw from our guys and the refusal to try something different too. And listen, I don't want to sound hateful whenever I say these things. I'm thankful that we've got a team out there that's going to play hard for all of us. But Saturday was not just Marshall being outmatched. They were out schemed, they were out executed, and they were outperformed. And that's different. That's two different things. I can just settle with being outmatched, but whenever you just out executed, out coached, everything, and that's a little something different in my book. So I walked away hoping that some of the criticisms that maybe I had throughout the year would vanish away, even if Marshall lost a close game and put up a fight. But instead, I walked away a little bit with really more questions than I went going in, because let's just be honest. We'll again, I'm not going to sugarcoat things. I'm not trying to call no players out, not anything like that. But it is what it is. It was an embarrassment that took place Saturday. It wasn't even close. So that's my takeaway on the game. So Trace, what do you think? What are some things you got?
Yeah, I mean, it was a letdown for sure. In the back of my mind, I knew that was a possibility. Like, I knew that, like, it was a chance that we could get just beat up. I mean, I knew that was a chance, but like, I don't know. I definitely expected more out of this game. I mean, even with the odds, Miami was only about a 2.5 point favorite. So like, it was supposed to have been a close game on paper and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know. It just did not turn out the way anybody wanted it. You get a huge crowd in there like that, 5,475, which for the capacity that is available now, that's a big crowd. It's a packed house. So that's as good as you'll get, essentially. And you get all that energy in there, and you get probably one of if not the best student turnout I've ever seen at the Cam Henderson Center. I mean, it was a ton of students. I was blown away by that. You get all that excitement and all that juice and all that kind of stuff, and the team just did not quite perform enough to warrant that. Like, it was just disappointing. I mean, like you mentioned a couple of those numbers already. I mean, you said talking about Marshall's numbers, Miami shot 56% from the field, 33 out of 59. They shot 44% from three, 8 out of 18. They shot 76% from the charity stripe, 16 to 21. I mean, you look at that, they're plus 16% in field goal percentage, they're plus 16% in 3-point percentage, and they're plus 17% in free throw percentage. You're going to win the game. Like it's just as simple as that. Like there's the only thing that I think that that Miami didn't do as well as Marshall was, I think, turnovers, or like a little bit more than for Miami. But like that's one thing I noticed. They don't turn the ball over a whole lot. Like most of Marshall's success in the turnover aspect was just great defensive plays, like flat out steals and things like that. It wasn't Miami's recklessness or carelessness. Like they didn't just throw the ball away, and Marshall had to force those turnovers. So yeah, I mean, when you're getting outshot in every aspect, you're just not going to win the game. But my biggest takeaway, and I said this, I tweeted it, I think, my thing about this game and what really lost them this game was about a 7 to 8 minute stretch in the first half. So it was, I think it was like a 5-point game at one point, or it was like somewhere in that neighborhood, like 5 points. And from the 11:50 mark of the first half until the 4:53 mark of the first half, Miami went on a 13-0 run. And to go a little farther than that, the 11:50 mark to the 3:54 mark, 19-1 run. If you give up an 8-minute run where you're getting outscored 19-1 against an undefeated top 25 team, it's over. You're done. So, if you just, that's the funny thing about it. It's a 40-minute game. You take away those 8 minutes, Marshall's right there. I mean, they're right there with them. It's just you can't have that bad of a stretch of play. I mean, you're going against literally the highest scoring team out of 365 some odd Division I teams, the team that scores the most points a game. You you can't go not 8 minutes, 7.5 minutes, whatever, and score 1 point against them. You just have no chance. So even if that was a 19-1 run over that entire stretch, even if that's 19 to 10, Marshall's probably got a chance to compete in that game. And it just unfortunately did not happen. It just that the flow was off. Jalen Spears' foul trouble was huge. I mean, that was huge. He got 2 fouls pretty early in the first half. He had to kind of fight it out, and he just couldn't quite play his game. And ironically, which is not, it makes sense. A lot of that 19-1 run was when I think he was not on the court for most of it. So we just had no ball movement at that point, none whatsoever. Miami, they're as sound of a team as you'll probably find in the country. They're not the most talented team, but you won't find probably a more sound, well-played team that plays the best together. They're one of the best in the country at that. And we were struggling mightily. Van Komen being out was huge. It was just detrimental. I mean, anything they wanted to do in the paint, they did it. They would get a layup or a dunk or whatever it was, and then even if they weren't scoring immediately, they'd get to the foul line. And it's like we just unfortunately were not equipped to match that with our best big being out, and it was just some unfortunate circumstances that kind of led to the whole thing. But yeah, I mean, all that stuff aside, you cannot survive a 19-1 scoring run against that team. You're not going to survive. I don't care who it is. You put freaking Duke out there. If Duke gives up a 19-1 scoring run against Miami, they're not going to beat Miami. I don't think. So, I mean, that team's really solid. And I would like to see, hopefully they can get to March Madness, because I would like to see them. They would be, I don't know what kind of seed they would get. I don't know if they'd get a 12 or a 13 or whatever, but man, that would be a scary team to play in March. So if they can get there, I expect them to do good things. But on our side, yeah, I mean, it was not great and it's unfortunate, but there was a great Landon Joseph. We got to talk about that a little bit. Landon Joseph had a heck of a game for the Herd. I mean, he single-handedly came on in that second half and sparked that comeback. I mean, we were, like I said, down 24, down 20, most of the game. He got it down basically on his shoulders. We got it down to 8 with 8 to 10 minutes to go of the game. We had it down to 8. So we were right there. I mean, that game, it was a game at that point, but we just couldn't do anything else after that. But Landon Joseph I think he's got a bright future in store. He's an all energy, tough defender, fearless kind of guy. I was really impressed with his performance, but unfortunately,
Yeah.
we just needed a few more than that.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. Landon Joseph was phenomenal. I mean, he really, really was. He's a freshman. It's crazy to think about, but man, he's already putting up
Yeah,
those type of performances. And I will say, I guess the silver lining with all of this is the fact that you got a guy like Landon Joseph, and really somebody that I think personally they should be getting more playing time is Bryce Slay.
right.
he's been, spotty every now and then type of player this year. However, whenever he is in, he's done a phenomenal job. He'll knock down a couple shots. He'll play some good defense. I mean, he's got a really good, versatile game, and I like him. So, I think that if we can be excited about one thing, it's the fact that we've got those two guys that are younger and that have a lot of potential overall to make some noise in the future. So yeah, great. But with that said, I guess the question that we've got to ask now is, all right, what's the future look like? Coming off a loss as catastrophic as that was, and as not even close as it was, really as depleting as the loss that can be, how do you bounce back? At the time of recording this, they're going to be playing here in just a couple of hours. This is a Wednesday, so they're going to be matching up against a really poor Old Dominion team. It should be a win tonight. However, you just never know. So, Trace, talk to me a little bit about what you think this future of the program's looking. You think we bounce back? You think we got a good week this week and kind of setting us up for success at this last little stretch? Or, what's your thoughts as we kind of wind down this season?
Yeah, I would like to think we bounce back. I mean, especially playing Old Dominion. I mean, they're one of the weaker teams in the league right now. I mean, they have been all year. I mean, it is on the road, and I know historically that's a tough place to go and win. Like we've seen a lot of tough games there, but they're not the Old Dominion of old. So we should be able to win that game if our heads in the game and everything else. And I don't question that. I don't question that at this point. The only thing that's really holding us back is just sometimes just lack of execution. I mean, if we can go out and execute, I like our chances. This is the big 7 games left of the regular season at the time of this recording. 7 games left, man. There's a lot to play for. I mean, you got Old Dominion tonight, which, like I said, is on a Wednesday. You got Georgia Southern on the road this weekend. They're not a bad team. That's not going to be an easy game. Then we got the rescheduled South Alabama game at home on the 16th of February. That's a big game because South Alabama is one of the teams that's ahead of us, or right there with us in the standings. So that's a huge game. At App State on the 19th is a huge game because although we did beat them earlier this year at home, they've really gotten hot. And App State's right there in the thick of the race, too, in the Sun Belt. So that's going to be a tough one. At Coastal on the 21st, they beat us at home somehow, and they've actually played a lot better since then. So that's not going to be an easy game going down there and playing. And then we got Old Dominion again at home on the 24th, and then Georgia Southern at home on the 27th. So this is a big stretch of games coming up. I mean, I know, we're a game and a half out of first place. We don't play Troy again. We only played them one time. They're the clubhouse leader right now, but we do play a lot of teams ahead of us and right there with us. We got South Alabama on the schedule. Coastal's kind of hanging around. App State's right there. They're barely ahead of us. So, I mean, we got some big games coming up. And for us to have a chance to win, of course, win the regular season title or like compete for one of those super high seeds in Pensacola, we're going to have to win. Out of those 7 games, we're going to have to win at least 6 of them. That's my opinion. Because last year the regular season title went to had a 13-5. There was 4 teams that were 13-5 in conference. Right now we're 7-4. So that would be 6-1. Like we have to be 6-1. I don't think 12-6 would get it done to win the regular season. I don't know where we would fall in seeding at that point. Because there's a lot of teams that are right there. Troy, App, South Alabama, and us. I mean, those are the teams right now that are close. So we gotta take care of business. We have to end on a high note to have any kind of chance. I mean, if we get to Pensacola and we're just kind of, ho hum, just coasting and not playing real great ball, I don't like our chances. Like we got to get on a streak here, and it starts tonight. So let's see something.
Yeah, I think the program really is at a fork in the road at this present moment. We will see them either turn it up and finish the season well and get a good seeding for the Pensacola tournament, or it could go off the rails.
Yeah.
I don't really think there's an in between here. I think that it's going to be either one or the other, and it'll be interesting to see what happens. Like you said, tonight should be a win, and finishing out this weekend and on Saturday, that's not an easy win, right? Georgia Southern is a tough team this season. They're really similar to Marshall in all matters as far as just record is concerned. So that's not an easy gimme win. So it's going to be a very important week this week to see what happens. Is going to set up for the success of the future whenever they're able to come back home. And quite frankly, depending on what happens the rest of this season will dictate, I think, what the future of Marshall basketball will look like. And I think no matter what happens, I think Corny will be able to come back for at least one more season.
Oh yeah.
If they win out, praise, that's great, no problem. If they lose out, I still think he'd come back. He's done a good job. But if he wants to make next year comfortable for him, not having the rumors begin to swirl around about hot seat and all that good stuff, it's he'll need to finish 2026 on a high note. So it's going to be very interesting to see how the rest of this men's basketball season will go. I'm always hoping for the best. I'm hoping that we can get this thing turned around and in a good spot where they're getting hot at the right time. And it'd be a great thing to see them begin that journey tonight at Old Dominion. Very quickly before we move on, I do want to just make mention of this. Our ladies, the women's basketball team, are still rolling. Right now, they are sitting at a record at the time of recording of 20-6. And they've got an easy contest on Thursday playing against a pretty poor Georgia State team. But then on Saturday, honestly, this is the game of the year for our ladies. In all reality, they're going to be playing here at the Cam at home, and they'll be welcoming in the other front runner of the conference, Arkansas State, also sitting at 20-6.
Yeah.
And so I just want to say this to all Herd fans that are listening. Our ladies are looking for a March Madness run as they made a couple of years ago. And this game Saturday really is going to go a long way into seeing all of that come to fruition. So I encourage everybody, if you're able to and if you can, get out to the Cam on Saturday and support these ladies, as that is a huge game for the future of our ladies program. So get out there, be rowdy, be loud, and hopefully cheer them on for a win. Trace, you got
Yep.
anything to say about our ladies?
Yeah, I mean they're right. I mean, just much like the men's, they're in a similar situation, game and a half out of first place. But man, they've been playing really well. I mean, they've lost a game or two. I know there was one game. Was it? I don't remember who it was. Troy, maybe one of those games recently where they just they had a pretty big lead and ended up losing. I think it might have been Troy. I don't know. Maybe I'm imagining that, but it was at home. I know that, and that was an unfortunate loss. But man, I mean, they're at 20-6 right now. I mean, they're a 20-win team, and they still got 5-6 games to go. So, I mean, they've played really well this year. Last year with the rebuild and everything, after losing the whole program, well, not the whole program, but a lot of the players and the coach, obviously, Caldwell going on and stuff, there was a rebuild last year. It was going to be some issues. But, man, that run they went on in Pensacola that we've talked about, that has set this entire season in motion. 20-6 and 10-3 in the league, that's nothing to sneeze at. They're right there. If they can beat Arkansas State, and we beat Georgia Southern, and we got some tough games left on the schedule, we got a chance to win the regular season title, and that would be huge. So yeah, I mean, get out there to the Cam, especially for this Arkansas State game coming up. I mean, that could be a really exciting game that could very well determine the regular season champion in the Sun Belt. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, exciting stuff. Let's shift gears here and quit talking about basketball, and let's talk a little bit about football. So, a move that made shockwaves this week was the announcement of the most consistent football program in all of America making the move up to the FBS level and joining the Mountain West Conference, of course, being North Dakota State. Which only time will tell if that's going to be a wise move on their behalf or not. It's going to be either boom or bust. I believe it could be a James Madison situation where in a couple of years you see them making very big noise, or it could be something to which it's just a disaster. We don't know. We'll just have to see. But if I am a fan in Fargo, I it's kind of bittersweet because the landscape of college football is a whole lot different than it was whenever Marshall made its leap up back in the 90s. Because whenever we made that move up, man, if you just got invited to a bowl game, it was like the Super Bowl. It was a big deal. It meant something. But now playing in the famous Idaho Potato Bowl is not really going to bring you as much excitement and fun as watching your team compete for a national championship. It's just
Right.
not. And I don't care what anybody else thinks or says about that. I mean, fans are always going to be more excited when there is a national championship on the line. Which leads me to the main point as to why we bring this up at all. The playoff rules have once again just changed here recently, and with these changing of rules, it's made it really kind of virtually impossible for a group of six team to be in consideration for a playoff bid. Not impossible, but it's close to it.
Yeah.
Notre Dame now has rights of making the playoff as an automatic qualifier as long as they're in the top 12. And the committee will now really show no favor at all to any group of six team, no matter what your conference record will be. That's just my guess moving forward, which will definitely make things difficult going forward. So, we likely will not see the stories that we have seen the past couple of years, seeing Boise State make a great run, seeing Tulane and James Madison last year. I don't think that's going to be happening at nearly as a consistent basis. So that begs the question, what do you do if you are a group of six team like Marshall? We had a small window of opportunity, as everybody else did, to be able to make the playoff, but now that window seems to be closing. So, what truly do you play for now as a group of six team? My fear is that we've come to the point where playing for a conference title has become really the only thing that we're looking forward to in the entire season. And after that, you'll be invited to a bowl game. And even if you get to play in the bowl game now is up in the air because your best players are either going to transfer out or they're going to sit out in the hopes that they're going to make the league. So the bowl game of today has become a glorified scrimmage in all reality. And it's really it's a game to which you are looking forward to next year more than you are putting a bow on that current season. So what do we do? I think there's a couple of options, and I think there's some things that we can talk about. But I'll start with you, Trace. What are some things that you can think of trying to help some of these group of six teams find a way to contend for something that really means something for the program?
Yeah, I mean it's a weird situation to be in. I mean it's a very odd, it's a very kind of you're as a group of six, you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place at this point. I mean, the last 2 years, every single year after the playoff, they've come up with ways to screw over the group of six even more. The Boise State thing. Oh no, it's just the highest. It used to be the top four ranked conference champions will get a bye. Nope. Then they changed that to just the highest ranked teams, and now they're changing it again to, oh yeah, Notre Dame you can be in even if you could be 9-3, but we'll rank you at number 12 and you'll make it in. It's just like I don't know. It's disgusting, really. But I mean that it is what it is. There's nothing that can be done. They're going to continue to move the goalpost back more and more and more in the group of six. That's just what they're going to do. So at this point, if they're going to shut us out, then we got to figure out something else because at this point, if they expand the playoff, which I know there was a talk about that, if they expand it at any point, that's going to be less bowl opportunities. So it's like there's not going to be, and I don't know how well those bowls even pay at this point, anyways. There's only a few that actually pay well, quite frankly. But I mean, I just don't know what there is to do. And I'm somebody that loves bowl season. I have always loved bowl season, and it's like, but like over the last going on a decade now, close to a decade, they just suck the life out of bowl season. And it's like you can't even be excited about it anymore. It used to be such an exciting thing because you could watch fun games. It didn't really matter how great the teams were. You would see some fun games, and teams that actually wanted to be there and were at full strength and not having guys sit out because they had a hangnail and all this other stuff. And now it's like, no, you don't have that anymore. So you could do I know there's been a lot of people have over the years that have said the group of six should just have their own playoff. And I would be fine with that. I mean, but my only concern would be if the money's right or not in that situation, because if you're not making, if you're not making anything off of these games, then that's what a group of six programs have to have. You have got to have some steady something to where you can make some money and some and profit and revenue. You have to have that. And bowl games, yeah, they're not exciting anymore because they've devalued them so greatly. And I blame ESPN for a lot of this, quite frankly. That they just suck. I mean, let's just call it like it is. They don't care. They could literally, if it was up to ESPN, there would be about 24 teams in the entire college football landscape. That's about it. There'd be just a margin of what there is. They could totally do without everybody else. They just like who they like, and they're gonna boast that and boast that and boast that. So if we could get a group of 6 playoff, yeah, that would be really cool. I mean, imagine having a playoff game again at the Joan after 30 years ago plus we were having them every year. That would be pretty sick. But it's got to be done right. The money has to be right, first of all. Like it has to work out. The TV, the viewer, you got to have good networks to pick it up. You have to have legit interest in it. Because if you don't, then it's at this point, it might as well be the NIT to the NCAA tournament. And it's kind of going to be that way anyways. But at least now there would be a lot of genuine excitement for it because there's some really good programs in the group of 6. So I think it would be good to see them compete, fight it out. But man, I don't know. It's just a bad spot to be in because the monopoly of the sport is just getting really bad, really, really bad. And yeah, so basically ESPN screwed it all up.
Yeah, and truthfully, here's where I'm at. I think there's 2 solutions that we could talk about that would make everybody happy. And I think one of them is unrealistic, and the other one would be more realistic. And I think that it is eventually what we would see. So here's the unrealistic thing that I have thought of. Let's have one more round of expansion of college football playoffs. And I hate that. I don't enjoy that. I'm upset by that. But if this particular scenario is going to work, that has to happen. Give me 24 teams,
Yeah.
which is a lot. It's a lot. Power 4 winners get an automatic bid. And out of those 4 winners, they will be ranked in the top 4 positions no matter who you are. Okay. If you win your conference championship, you are automatically in and you are locking yourself in for a top 4 position because that's the reward of winning your conference championship. That makes the conference championships actually matter again.
Mm-hmm.
So they get an automatic place. The committee will put them in what they believe the appropriate position is. And then this is the thing that makes all of this unrealistic. The group of 6, all of the conferences, also get one automatic qualifying bid per conference.
Mm-hmm.
These schools are not automatically going to be ranked. Let's say like the Power 4 is 1, 2, 3, 4, and then group of 6, 5, 6, 7, 8. Not no, that's not what I'm saying. The committee can put them wherever they want. So Conference USA champion, guess what? They're probably not going to be number 5.
Yeah.
They're probably going to sit there at number 24. That's just how it's going to be. So you have the 4 Power 4 teams automatically making it. You have 6 group of 6 teams automatically making it. And if my math is not incorrect, that leaves 14 at-large bids for the remainder of the schools. And let's go ahead and be honest about it. Uh, there's not going to be any more group of 6 teams. All that have, if we do that method, what we see is what we get. So that way you now have 14 spots to divvy up. You can give Notre Dame an automatic thing if they win so many games this season, if you want to do that. And then you can divvy up, all right, well, the SEC gets this many, and the Big Ten gets this many, and the Big 12 gets this many, and the ACC gets this many. And so there we have in total college football representation in your playoff. And this solution on paper, it should make everybody happy because, again, everybody is included. Group of 6 teams who never even get considered are in it, and they get the money that comes with that. So, yeah, that's a win. What makes this unrealistic is the fact that the Big Ten and the SEC are way too greedy to let this ever happen. They would much rather keep it condensed a little bit and just drive out all of the group of 6. And if they expanded it more, let's just make it all Big Ten and SEC. So it'll never happen. Like
No.
that model, that method that I just put out there, it's literally just a waste of words. However, it would be really awesome if it were going to do that. So that
Yeah.
brings me to the second option. Here's the realistic option, kind of similar to what you just said. The Power Four, they'll get to go ahead and ruin college football all they want. They can make it a semi-pro league and whatever, let the Big Ten and SEC literally destroy it as they're continuing to do. Let the group of six be the purest form of football today. Let's take the current group of six teams that we've got now and strengthen some of those conferences. So if I'm the Sun Belt, Mountain West, MAC, whoever, I'm looking directly to the FCS ranks at this moment, and I'm trying to pick up all of the teams that are worthy of going up. South
Yeah.
Dakota State, Montana, Sacramento State, Illinois State, Washington State, all of these different teams. Add these into your conferences that you already have, or even add another conference and make it a group of seven. That's fine. And let's really make that entire realm of football just the purest form possible. Let's set up a 16 team format for a playoff system and it only be group of six teams. And listen, it makes no sense to be like, let's say that Marshall is trying to right now, like the modern day way things are, it makes no sense because Marshall has tried to compete with Ohio State and Alabama, where one of the lower tier coordinators at one of those schools, the salary of that man is by and large greater than the entire NIL budget at,
Right.
at our schools. So it doesn't
Right.
make sense to try and compete with them. So let's make our own thing. And this is not a shameful thing. This is not a downgrading thing. This is a realistic thing that I think people need to come to better terms with, because it does not make sense the way current things are set up. It doesn't make sense for little schools that don't have nearly as much money, that don't have the prestige, that don't have the ability to get some of these players to try and compete with some of these really gigantic programs. So being able to downsize a bit brings something that's been missing in all of the group of six, and that is a true prize to
Yeah.
pursue every single season. We're not just playing for to be the best in the conference. We're playing to be the best in the nation at a sport where other programs are similar to us. And like you said a second ago, man, give me Boise State at the Joan on a Saturday night in December. Man, that's electric. That is
Yeah.
awesome. I mean, that is amazing. Give me James Madison versus Toledo. Give me Jacksonville State versus Tulane. Give me some of these games that are fun matchups that have stakes that are going towards a goal of a national championship. And you said if the money right, I think the money can be right, because I think that you take a look at ESPN and different things that they've got now. Let me backtrack. This method will completely destroy bowl games.
Oh yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
But in all reality, that's a sacrifice now that I'm willing to take because of the
All
fact
right.
that I don't care about bowl games nearly as much as I used to. I
Yeah.
mean, they're fun, and if they're in driving distance, I'll go, and if I'll watch them on TV. But for example, the Frisco Bowl, I think that we played a couple of years ago, it was like 9:30 at night,
Yeah.
and it's an empty stadium against UTSA. It meant nothing. I mean, it
No.
wasn't even that fun to watch.
No, it
So
wasn't.
I'm okay with getting rid of bowl games if you give me something like this in return. Give me something meaningful. Give me something to where we all, as group of six teams, have something to compete for and go towards and try and pursue for a national championship. I'm in favor of this model, and I know people will disagree. I know they'll say things like, that's crazy. Why would we ever consider that? We're just taking a step backwards and we're regressing as a program. And I understand the point. But I'm saying this, I would much rather watch Marshall compete for a national championship than play in the Myrtle Beach Bowl. It's
Yeah.
just the facts. It's going to be a lot more exciting. Hey, these schools that have home playoff games, they're going to make more money. These teams that are on the road, they're going to make more money just from being in the playoff. So all of these things help the sport that is group of six football, in my personal opinion. So we'll see what happens. It's hard to tell with how everything has gone. I do know, I've heard the rumors that in the past they have had meetings to discuss the possibility of there being a group of six playoff. But we will just have to see, because it's going to take a couple of years of the group of six not making the playoff now for them to finally have these wheels turning of, all right, we really don't have a chance.
Right. Well, and I like your first option, and I know you said, and it is unrealistic, but I love that option, and it's unrealistic because it makes too much sense. That's what it comes down to. It doesn't make sense in the aspect of, oh well, we think Jacksonville State can compete with Ohio State. No, it's not realistic in that aspect. It's realistic because college basketball has the best format. College basketball lets the 68 teams. If you win your conference, you're an automatic bid. It doesn't matter if you're the Southeast random Missouri State. Well, it doesn't matter. Like if you win your conference, your butt's in the tournament. And you know what? More times than not, a lot of those teams end up winning games. I know it's a different sport, but that is the method that has. If they did not allow these mid majors to make it in, the Florida Gulf Coast, the VCUs, the Butlers, if they did not allow these teams in, the March Madness would have never taken off like it has. George Mason, same thing, would have never taken off like it has, and that's a fact. And that's because of mid-major basketball. So if you could do the similar, I know it's not the same thing in football because, like I said, college basketball is way more fair. I mean, yeah, you're still going to have teams that are better than everybody else, and that comes with the territory. But in football and college football, they just have absolutely, like I said, monopolized the sport. I mean, it is so one-sided now that it's not even funny with all the NIL money and all that kind of stuff. The rich just keep getting richer, and that's just what it's going to be. And I really do think the group of six playoff possibility is interesting for sure, especially if it's done right. Now, if it's done in a second rate, third rate, crap it together kind of way, no, I don't want to see that. And I think there would be enough respect for it that it would be better than that, because people like the FCS playoffs. They like watching the FCS playoff every year, and they like seeing these teams go far in it, and it's good football. It's fun football. The environments are awesome. I mean, you go to Montana in December to watch a playoff game, man, that place is packed. I mean, it is North Dakota State, it's packed. I mean, that's what you want. So if it's actually done right in a good way, I think that could be very beneficial, and that could be honestly the best way to do it. And I know I actually hadn't said anything about North Dakota State yet, but they're going to wreck the Mountain West. Let's just call it like it is. They are going to wreck that conference. They have been. They're just like James Madison, and I said it for years. James Madison was a big fish in a small pond. North Dakota State, they wanted to be a big fish in a small pond, and man, they just dominated that level more than anybody else has ever done. So you can't tell me that they wouldn't that they moving up to that conference with the resources they have and the history they have, and they can get players. They're going to get players, so they're going to be good. And heck, let's have Marshall against North Dakota State. Let's do that. Let's do it. I don't even care how far that game is travel wise. That'd be an awesome home and home. I'm just saying.
Oh yeah, I would love to see that. I would love to see, well, just those type of games too. Periodically, I think it's good to go out west and some of these,
Yeah,
like we talked about Wyoming, stuff like that.
yeah,
But they're kindred spirits to programs like us. They've got success. They've got a lot of pedigree to them. It's just they're hundreds of miles away.
right, right.
But college football right now, it's in a very interesting spot. We're going to see a lot of really disheartening things, I think, in the next couple of seasons for the smaller guys. The rich will just continue to get richer, and the poor will just continue to get poorer. It is what it is. But we will see if these conference commissioners and different things, if they got enough guts to make a decision that's going to change the entire landscape of college football. And I
Yeah,
hope they do. I really do. I hope that they have enough guts to do something about this and not just roll over and say, well, I guess we'll just have to win 2 years and go undefeated for 2 years to get in, like the first playoff method was.
right.
So I hope that we don't have a repeat of that. So it'll be interesting to see how all of it unfolds, but we will just roll with the punches until then. No matter what, Marshall football is going to be Marshall football. We're still going to love it. We're still going to have a great
Yep.
time at the Joan on Saturdays in the fall. So It'll be a wonderful experience. With that said, I suppose that will conclude today's episode of the Herdline Podcast. And again, thank you so much for tuning in and making it this far in the episode. Be sure, if you enjoy our content, to subscribe and to follow us on X and all other forms of social media. We hope that you have a wonderful rest of the day. And hopefully, by this time next week, we'll be discussing how Marshall basketball just bounced back with two more wins. And the ladies got a big win on Thursday and Saturday, and baseball will be undefeated. That'd be a great time.
Yeah.
Until then, though, go Herd, and we'll see you next time.
Go Herd.